Hey guys, welcome back to another Reel in Real Estate. Today I am really excited to chat a little bit more with Miss Rachel Dreyer. Hey Rachel, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. Been a crazy week, but I love it.
I know you are just always so passionate about your clients and all the experiences that you have. And you're just really a joy to be around because you have such great energy.
Thank you.
So how long have you been a real estate agent?
Gosh, 27 years this year. And it's never been a dull moment. That is for sure.
27 years.
Yeah.
Do you have any idea how many clients over a 27-year span that you've been able to help?
No.
Yeah.
I should have an estimate. I mean, it's been a lot of families. It's been a pleasure to do what I do. And it really is enjoying to see the looks on their faces when they do get to closing and the hurdles that they've had to overcome to get to that point, you know, with some of the people. So it just makes it that much more enjoyable with what we do. And it really is a joy and pleasure.
Yeah. I mean, you also have you do real estate investment. So you own investment properties as well. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. And I started that probably more aggressively within the last 4 or 5 years, just to have a little bit more passive income. And so that way, when I do get to the point of being able to retire, I'll have a little bit of something, you know, for that passive income so I don't have to work as hard. So that's always the bonus, the plus.
Yeah. And what did you do prior to real estate?
Practically nothing. Pretty much I started real estate right after college. I had a couple jobs in between there, but pretty much started real estate right after college and have been doing it ever since.
What did you study in college?
Psychology and Spanish. So believe it or not, there is a lot of psychology in this business with real estate, and that actually has been a very big help with my clients.
Absolutely. I always talk about or reference one of the things when I first got my license. The mentor that I had mentioned how stressful the buying and selling process is for the client, and that he ranked it, or psychologists rank it, as one of the 5 most stressful things you can do in your life. And it was up there with getting married, getting divorced, having a child, and I believe it was like the death of a loved one, and real estate.
Well, you figure it is the largest purchase and sale that people make in their life. So, of course, that's definitely going to add to the stress of it. And that's very understandable.
Yeah. And what was it specifically about the real estate industry that drew you in initially? Like, what was it that you said, that's what I want to do?
That's a tough question. That's a good question, though. I really don't know if I have an exact answer other than at the time, I liked the flexibility, at least what I thought was a flexible schedule, to find out that you really don't have flexibility if you really want to strive to do something in this business. However, at the time, I liked a little bit of the flexible ability for the schedule to have with what I had going on at that point in my life. And I don't know, I just fell in love with the homes. I thought it was real interesting. The building process, the, you know, start to finish for a buyer and for a seller. And I just fell in love with it. I don't know, meeting the different people. Every day was different. You know, I didn't have the same thing every day, which made it interesting for me.
Yeah. And one of the things that you said that I think we understand being in the profession, but the outside world, the perspective, when you say everybody gets in for that flexibility piece, and then you get in and you understand what is it? We operate basically in all the hours that everybody else is off. So during the day, we're dealing with title companies and mortgage lenders, and sometimes showing or going to listings. But then in the evenings and weekends is typically what? When everybody needs us.
Absolutely. And it's never a 8 to 5, 9 to 5, 9 to 6 job. I mean, I'm getting calls sometimes at 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night, and that's just part of the job. And if it makes somebody feel comfortable to have a conversation with me about their process, I'm happy to have a quick conversation. That's not to say I do it every single night. However, you know, if it makes somebody feel comfortable about where they're at in the process, I'm happy to have a brief conversation.
Yeah. And if you were to pinpoint one part of a transaction, whether you're working with a buyer or a seller, what is the piece of real estate you just feel like fills your soul and gives you like that, like, I love what I do?
I think the excitement of the negotiating piece for me, that's where it really gets exciting. It's a lot more hands-on than what people realize with the communications that you have, not only between your client, but also with the listing agent maybe on the other end, or the buyer's agent, depending on which side of the transaction that you work. So for me, that's one of the most exciting parts of it. It's a little competitive too for that piece, and I really kind of enjoy that a little bit. So that's one of the most exciting pieces for me during the transaction, and then the closing, of course, because then you get to see the excitement of the clients when they're able to get the keys for their new home.
Yeah. One of the last questions I wanted to ask before you kind of tell us a funny story about just being a professional in the industry is you also are very passionate about giving back and making sure that you're contributing not only to our office, but the community in general. So can you speak a little bit about what are the ways that you like to do that?
I think a lot of it is, I'm pretty passionate about a lot of the animal shelters locally. And, I have over the years have adopted multiple animals from like an animal shelter, and they hold a special place in my heart because they don't always get the funding that they need to take care of the animals, dogs, cats, whatever, other animals that they might have. And so I like to volunteer when I can for those types of organizations and just donate any food, blankets, bleach, anything and everything that they need on a daily basis for those organizations. And I think a lot of times they get overlooked. So for me, I love the animals and love to see what I could do to help them out.
Yeah, and also here in our office, you're a part of our Agent Leadership Council. Mm-hmm. So what committee do you help lead this year?
So it's our culture committee, which I love the culture piece. To me, culture is about not only the fun that you can bring to the office with events that you could plan for the agents, but also we also help with the Keller Williams Red Day, which is our National Keller Williams Day of Service. And so we've got a couple things on the horizon that we're just trying to finalize now, but we should have that very soon. And that'll be our next venture for this year's Red Day.
Yeah, I just really wanted to point that out because the same passion you have for taking care of your clients and being an advocate from the very beginning process to the end and then return clients for life. I see you do the same things in our office, and I just really appreciate your ability to show up and volunteer, not only because you are so busy and you have such a thriving business, but it just shows everybody a part of who you are that they may not know.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yes, it's very evident.
Yeah.
And you're also super funny and you just love to laugh. And so I know one of the things you wanted to do was kind of expose the side of real estate that's humorous because there are stressful times and not every day are we laughing at what we're walking into or walking out of. But I would love to hear a little bit more about one of the experiences that you'd like to share.
Oh, where to start? Where to start, Jessica? So I've got one story in mind, and these are all going to be very different stories. I've got numerous that I would like to add and discuss. However, the first one, let's start early in my career. Now, granted, I was very naive. I was fairly young, maybe 21, 22, didn't know a lot about certain things, whatnot, let's just say. And I showed a friend of mine from high school a home on South 4th Street. I'll never forget it. A beautiful 2.5-story old Victorian home. And, these are the homes where you walk in, you might have a parlor on the left and then another sitting area on the right when you're greeting the suitors that came, for the 1800s built home. And so we walked into this home and, when we first walk in, there is an absolute stunning dark wood staircase with some just beautiful, intricate wood detail that led up to the top. So, the entry foyer was absolutely stunning. You could tell it needed work, but it just had so much potential and it was beautiful. So then we walk into this room on the left and I look at my friend and I said, what is going on with this? And there was aluminum foil along every single wall of this room. Now, just know that let's say a standard 10-foot wall, okay, you might have, 1 or 2 outlets for that wall. Well, this had like 8 outlets on this wall. And I looked at my friend and I was like, what is going on with this room? He looks at me and he goes, Rachel, really? You don't know what this is? And I said, no, what? He goes, they clearly must have been growing pot in this room, with all the grow lights and stuff. And I go, oh, then it kind of sunk in what was going on. So it was just one of those moments. I was like, again, never a dull moment in this business, which is why I absolutely love it, because it's not the same thing every day. And after that, somebody had told me that that's one of the ways that police are able to find grow houses. I guess they will fly over the area with infrared cameras, and they can see an extra amount of red, let's say for the heat sensors, compared to the rest of the home. And apparently, I was told that's how that they are able to scope out these properties where people are growing pot amongst whatever else they may be doing. So that's definitely one of the funny stories I thought I would bring. I've got multiple others over the years, and they are all so different, so interesting, and just make it an interesting business to be in.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things where, when you're working with a buyer, you have a different skill set that you're utilizing to represent them to the best of your ability. But a lot of times, you may not realize, the buyer may not realize that there was a detailed conversation, hopefully with a real estate professional, where the real estate professional told them, hey, Mr. Seller, you're about to put your house on the market. And it would be we recommend to have the best experience, because the whole idea is to get somebody to walk through the door and want to write you an offer and pay you for the property. So here is a list of things that we recommend that you do and you don't do. Sometimes they're simple, sometimes they're extensive, sometimes we stage. But as we learn and buyers learn at the moment that it happens, when we walk in the door, that a lot of people don't always take our advice.
Yes.
I can tell you one of the strangest experiences I ever had showing houses. I was also a baby agent and was in Orlando, Florida. And we went into this house, and I guess she was probably a young lady based on the attire, but she used the knobs of the kitchen cabinets to dry her lingerie.
Oh.
So if you can imagine a beautiful,
one.
And not the top part, but the bottom part. So yes.
Either is enough.
Yes.
Okay.
So we're walking into this beautiful renovated kitchen, and it was a nice home. And my client is looking at me like, are those what I think they are? And I'm like, pretty sure. And
I don't think you can mistake that one.
No. And I'm like, did you not know there was a showing? Is there any other way to dry your delicates other than hang them from?
I could think of a couple other suggestions.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's just to say, we never know what we're walking into with you. Even if the pictures are perfect, you might get a really interesting, entertaining experience that you would never imagine. And it happens daily for us.
That's exactly part of the reasons why I love this profession. You just never know, which makes it never a dull moment.
Exactly. That's why it's the real in real estate.
Yes, that's a good way to put it.
Well, Rachel, 27 years of experience. That just in and of itself, saying the words, if I were to look for a real estate professional, I know me personally, I'm going to go into how long have they been in the business? How many transactions have they done? Not because we care about the number of transactions as much as I say all the time, it's like reps in the gym. The more reps you get, the better you are at all the things. And as we stated before, it's never the same. So you specialize in Indiana and Kentucky. So you can represent people on both sides of the river. You live in Indiana. What do you think you would tell someone that is open to living on either side? So they come to you and they're like, Rachel, we're moving from out of state. We don't know that much about the area. How are you going to guide them into making that decision? And I understand each person is different, but kind of walk us through what that would look like, since you're so versed in both sides of the river.
I think that's a great question, because a lot of people don't know what they don't know. They don't know the areas. They don't know what each area offers. I always find out, do they have kids? Because that's a big pull on the school systems, where they want to be. What's this school system like? Well, what is this school system like? So that's one of the first questions. Well, do you have kids? Because that's one of the biggest things that I need to know. Depending if they do or do not have kids, I can give them suggestions on the local schools and some data on that. The next question I usually have is, where do you work? Where is work taking you, in our area? Are you based out of Southern Indiana? Are you based out of Louisville? Do you want a drive back and forth to work? Do you work from home? You know, if you do have to drive and commute to work, how far of a drive do you prefer to be? So a lot of those questions up front are going to be indicators for me on which side of the river is going to be better suited for them. If after those questions, they're still kind of open, you know, as a whole, I will say Indiana price per square foot or just an average sales price compared to Louisville's sales price is lower. Mm-hmm. You can usually get a little bit more bang for the buck on Indiana side of the river compared to Kentucky. Mm-hmm. So that for some people, if they're on a limited budget and they want maybe a newer home, maybe Southern Indiana is a better fit, you know, than parts of Louisville. So it depends. That's kind of one of my last things that we discuss, really. But the first big things are the kiddos, work, where it's located, what kind of a commute do you want? Do you want to be close to the interstate? Do you want to be close to shopping and dining? You know, what's important to them in their daily schedules? Because depending on what they say with their daily schedules might give me some other clues that maybe this part of town is better suited because they love to take their dog to the park 2 and 3 days a week. You know, they want to be fairly close to be able to do that. So there's so many things. It's not just, hey, how many bedrooms and how many baths do you need? You know, what price? There's so many more other factors that go into that decision. Mm-hmm. And I think the more that you can find out about your client with those questions is really only going to help me to help them at a higher level and really get them into a home that's going to be a good fit.
Yeah, that's a great response to the question because, you know, like you said, people don't know what they don't know.
That's right.
So if you were going to pick like 2 hidden gems in Indiana, whether it's a boutique or a restaurant or an ice cream shop, like what are 2 places that if I was just going to come in and move to town and try to decide Indiana or Kentucky, and part of my decision was like, where do I go to eat? Where do I go to I was going to say drink, but where do I go to do all the things?
Well, I've got some answers for that one, too. So, you know, it just depends. I always ask people, well, do you like Italian? Do you like pizza? Do you like, I don't know, Mexican? What kind of foods do you like? Mm-hmm. We do like to frequent various places, you know, for different foods and meeting up with friends and such. So, you know, I love a lot of the little restaurants, and same thing, either downtown New Albany for Southern Indiana, because a lot of the restaurants and little boutiques are darling. Same way with downtown Jeffersonville. Mm-hmm. Both of those cities, just, you know, some of the food locations are really, really nice options for people. So both of those, I don't think anyone could go wrong in Southern Indiana.
So if I was out and about, where might I run into you at a location over there?
I got a few places. It depends if it's a Friday evening or a Saturday evening. We really there is a local spot, New Albanian, and they've got great pizza, great beers. It's a place that I used to go even in college, and we still love to go there. So it's a little local spot. Their roundhouse pizzas I think they're like little 6-inch round pizzas. They're deep dish, but they're wonderful, and they've got some great craft beers there, which is nice. We really like our craft beers, and their breadsticks are wonderful.
Awesome. What about Louisville? What
I don't frequent as many places in Louisville because I live in Southern Indiana. Yeah. So there might be a few, but the majority of places that we do go to, if it's like an evening or a weekend, is probably Southern Indiana.
Awesome. Well, I really have enjoyed having you on the show. And if people are looking to work with you because you've been in the business for a very long time and you're such a good advocate for your clients, just look into the camera and tell them how they can find you.
All right. Well, that's easy enough. You can always check me out on my website, realestatewithrachel.com, or you can call me on my cell phone, of course, 502-386-3669. And I am on all socials, so don't hesitate to look me up. I will have videos on there from time to time that you're welcome to check out, and you never know, the next story might be coming of our interesting days in real estate.
Thank you so much, Rachel. It's been a really good time.
Absolutely. As always, Jessica, thank you.
Guys, that was another episode of The Real in Real Estate with Rachel. If you are somebody you know is impacting the Southern Indiana or Louisville area in a big way, taking great care of clients in your business, or just taking care of people in life in general, we would love to meet you. Just reach out to me at 502-777-6854. Thanks.